Family album. I was Hamlet. I stood at the waterfront and talked to the surf. Blah, blah, blah. Behind me the ruins of Europe. The bell tolled for the state funeral. Murderer and widow a couple. The alderman howling in badly paid grief. Marching in goose step behind the coffin of the high cadaver. Whose is the corpse in the hearse? For whom there's such a scream and curse? It's the corpse of a great soul, the giver of alms to all. The people as the guard of honour, creation of his statesmanship. He was a man, took all from all. I stopped the funeral, forced the coffin open with my sword. That's when the blade snapped. I managed, with the blunt remains, and distributed the dead father. Flesh and flesh keep good company. Among the wretched creatures hovering around me. Mourning turned to rejoicing, rejoicing into munching. On top of the empty coffin, the murderer mounted the widow. Let me give you a leg up, uncle. Spread your legs, mother. I lay down on the ground and heard the world doing its rounds in step with decay. I'm good Hamlet. Give me a cause for grief. Ah, the whole globe for a real sorrow. Richard III. I, the prince-killing king. O my people, what have I done unto thee? Like a hump, I'm lugging my heavy brain. Second clown in the communist spring. Something is rotten in this age of hope. Let's delve in earth and blow her at the moon. Here comes the ghost that begot me. The axe still in his skull. You can keep your hat on. I know you've got one hole too many. I wish my mother had had one less when you were still dressed in flesh. It would have spared me myself. Women should be stitched up. A world without mothers. we could get on with butchering each other in peace and quiet, and with some chance of success. When life gets to be too long, or our throats too tight for screaming, what do you want from me? Are you not satisfied with a state funeral? You old scrounger. Haven't you got any blood on your shoes? What do I care about your corpse? Just be glad you've got a hook sticking out. You might get to heaven. What are you waiting for? The cockerels have been slaughtered. Dawn will not take place anymore. Shall I, because it's customary, stick a piece of steel into the next flesh, or into the next one for me to hang on? Because the earth is spinning round. Lord, break my neck in a fall from an alehouse bench. Enter Horatio, confident of my thoughts. Bloody ever since the morning was draped with the empty sky. You're too late, my friend, to collect your fee. No place for you in my tragedy. Horatio, do you know me? Are you my friend? Horatio, if you do know me, how can you be my friend? Do you want to play Polonius, the one who wants to share his daughter's bed? Charming Ophelia. She enters on cue. See her shake her arse. A tragic part. Horatio Polonius. I knew you were an actor. So am I. I'm playing Hamlet. Denmark is a prison. A wall is rising between us. Look what's rising from out of the wall. Exit Polonius. My mother the bride. Her breasts a bed of roses. Her womb a snake pit. Have you forgotten your lines, mother? I'll prompt you. Wash the murder from your face, my prince, and begin making eyes at the new Denmark. I'll make a virgin of you once more, Mother, so your king can have a bloody wedding. Mother's womb is not a one-way street. Now I'm going to tie your hands behind your back with your bridal veil. Because your embrace makes me puke. Now I'm going to tear the wedding dress to pieces. Now you have to scream. Now I'm going to daub the rags of your wedding dress with the earth my father has become. Your face, your abdomen, your breasts, with the rags. Now I'm going to have you, Mother, in his, my father's invisible trail. Your screams I'll choke with my lips. Do you recognize the fruit of your womb? Now go to your wedding, whore. Spread out under the Danish sun that shines on the dead and the living alike. I want to stuff the corpse down the bog so that the palace suffocates in royal shit. Then let me eat your heart, Ophelia, that is crying my tears. Europe of the woman. Enormous room. Ophelia. Her heart is a clock. I am Ophelia, the one the river didn't keep, the woman dangling from the rope, the woman with slit arteries, the woman with the overdose, snow on her lips, the woman with the head in the gas oven. Yesterday I stopped killing myself. I am alone with my breasts, my thighs, my womb. I crush the instruments of my captivity, the chair, the table, the bed. I demolish the battlefield that was my home. I tear the doors open to let in the wind and the scream of the world. I smash the window. With my bleeding hands, I rip up the photographs of the men whom I loved, whom I was used by on the bed, on the table, on the chair, on the floor. I set fire to my prison. I throw my clothes onto the fire. I dig the clock that was my heart. from out of my breast. I go out onto the streets dressed in blood. Scherzo. University of the Dead. Whispering and muttering. From their gravestones, lecterns, the dead philosophers hurl their books at Hamlet. Gallery, ballet of the dead women. The woman dangling from the rope. The woman with slit arteries. Hamlet studies them as if he were in a museum theatre. The dead women tear the clothes from his body. From an upright coffin marked Hamlet I. Claudius and Ophelia, who is dressed and made up as a whore, appear. Ophelia does a striptease. Ophelia. Do you want to eat my heart, Hamlet? Laughs. Hamlet, covering his face. I want to be a woman. Hamlet puts on Ophelia's clothes. Ophelia smears a whore's mask on his face. Claudius, now Hamlet's father, laughs in silence. Ophelia blows Hamlet a kiss and steps back into the coffin with Claudius, Hamlet's father. Hamlet poses as a whore. An angel with its face on the back of its neck, Horatio, dances with Hamlet. Voices from the coffin. What thou hast killed, thou shalt not love. The dancing accelerates and becomes more wild. Laughter from the coffin. On a swing, the Madonna with breast cancer. Horatio opens up an umbrella, embraces Hamlet. Freeze in their embrace under the umbrella. The breast cancer shines like a sun. Pest in Buddha, Battle of Greenland. Room 2 destroyed by Ophelia. Empty armour, axe stuck in the helmet. Hamlet. Smoke is belching from the stove in a riot-ridden October. A bad cold he had of it. Just the worst time. Just the worst time of year for a revolution. Through the suburbs cement in bloom walks. Dr. Zhivago weeping for his wolves. Sometimes in winter they came to the village and butchered a peasant. He takes off his mask and costume. Hamlet performer. I am not Hamlet. I have no more role to play. My words have nothing more to say to me. My thoughts drain the images of their blood. My drama does not take place anymore. Behind me, a set is being erected by people who aren't interested in my drama, for people whom it doesn't concern. I'm not interested anymore either. I'm not playing anymore. Stage hands set a fridge and 3 television screens. Unnoticed by the Hamlet performer. Fridge humming. 3 TV channels without sound. The set is a monument. It shows a man 100 times larger than life who made history. The petrification of hope. His name is interchangeable. The hope was not fulfilled. The monument lies on the ground, raised 3 years after the state funeral of the hated and honoured one, by his successor to power. The stone is inhabited. In the spacious nostrils and ear cavities, in the wrinkles on the skin, the creases in the uniform of the shattered statue, the poorer people of the capital have found accommodation. After the fall of the monument, the revolt will follow on in due course. My drama, if it were to take place, would happen at the time of the uprising. The uprising starts as a walk against the highway code during shift time. The streets belong to the pedestrians. Here and there a car is turned over. Nightmare of a blade thrower. Slow drive down a one-way street. Towards an unavoidable parking space. Surrounded by armed pedestrians. The police, if in the way, get washed down into the gutter. When the march approaches Parliament Square, it comes to a halt in front of police lines. Groups are formed from within which speakers emerge. On the balcony of one of the government buildings, a man in an awkwardly fitted tuxedo appears and begins to speak. After the first stone hits him, he also retreats behind the double doors made of bulletproof glass. The cry for more freedom turns into the cry for the overthrow of government. The police are disarmed. 2 or 3 buildings are stormed. A prison, a police station, a department for the secret police. A dozen puppets of power strung up by their ankles. The government calls for the army, tanks. My place, if my drama were still to take place, would be on both sides of the front, between the front lines, above them. I am standing in the sweat stench of the crowd, hurling stones at police, soldiers, tanks, bulletproof glass. Looking through the double doors made of bulletproof glass, onto the crowd pushing forwards, and I smell the sweat of my fear, choking on vomit. I shake my fist at myself, who is standing behind the bulletproof glass, shaken by fear and contempt. I see myself within the crowd pushing forwards, foaming at the mouth, shaking my fist at myself. I string my uniform up by the ankles. I am the soldier inside the tank turret. My head is empty inside my helmet. The throttled scream underneath the tracks. I am the typewriter. I tie the noose when the ringleaders are hung. Pull the stool from under their feet. Break my neck. I am my prisoner. I feed the computer with my data. The parts I play are spit and sputum, cup, knife and wound, tooth and throat, neck and noose. I am the data bank, bleeding within the crowd, catching my breath behind the double doors, excreting word mud inside my soundproof blurb balloon above the battle. My drama did not take place. The script was lost. The actors hung their faces on the nail in the dressing room. In his box the prompter is rotting away. Not one hand moves among the stuffed corpses of the plague in the auditorium. I go home and kill time. at one with my undivided self. Television, the daily repulsion. Repulsion for the prefabricated. Blah, blah, blah for the prescribed cheerfulness. How do you spell Gemütlichkeit? Our daily murder we receive today. For yours is the nothing repulsion. For the lies which are believed by no one but the liars. Repulsion for the lies which are believed. Repulsion on the faces of the manipulators. Chiselled from the struggle for office jobs. Votes, bank accounts. Repulsion. A sickle cart gleaming with punchlines. I walk the streets, the supermarkets, the faces with their scars from the consumer battle. Poverty without dignity. Poverty without the dignity of the blade of the knuckle duster, of the fist. The shamed bodies of women, hope of generations, suffocated in blood, cowardice, ignorance, laughter out of dead bellies. Hail, Coca-Cola, a kingdom for a killer. I was Macbeth. The king had offered me his third mistress. I knew every birthmark on her thigh. Raskolnikov next to his heart. Underneath the only coat. The axe for the only skull of the pawnbroker. In the loneliness of airports, I breathe freely. I am privileged. My repulsion is a privilege. Protected by wall. Barbed wire prison. A photograph of the writer. I don't want to eat, drink, breathe, love. A woman, a man, a child, an animal anymore. I don't want to die anymore. I don't want to kill anymore. He tears up the photograph of the writer. I break open my sealed flesh. I want to live in my veins, in the marrow of my bones, in the labyrinth of my skull. I retreat into my entrails. My place is in my shit, in my blood. Somewhere bodies are being broken so that I can live in my shit. Somewhere bodies are being opened so that I can be alone with my blood. My thoughts are wounds in my head. My brain is a scar. I want to be a machine. Arms to grab, legs to walk. No pain, no thinking. Screens black. Blood from the fridge. 3 naked women, Marx, Lenin, Mao. They speak. The main point is to overthrow all existing conditions. Hamlet performer puts on his mask and costume. Hamlet the Dane. Prince and fodder for worms. Stumbling from hole to hole. Towards the final hole in apathy. Behind him the ghost that did beget him. Green like Ophelia's flesh in childbed. And just before the 3rd crow of the cock, a clown tears to shreds the jingle dress of the philosopher. An obese bloodhound crawls into the armour. He steps into the armour, splits the skulls of Marx, Lenin, Mao with the axe. Snow. Maddening endurance inside the dreaded armour, millennia. Deep sea. Ophelia in a wheelchair. Fish, wreckage, corpses and limbs drift by. Ophelia, while 2 men dressed in surgeons' gowns wrap muslin all around her and the wheelchair from the bottom to the top. Here speaks Electra. In the heart of darkness, under the sun of torture, to the metropoles of the world, in the name of the victims, I discharge all the sperm I ever received. I transform the milk from my breasts into deadly poison. I take back the world which I gave birth to. Between my thighs I strangle the world that I gave birth to. I bury it in my crotch. Down with the happiness of surrender. Long live hatred, contempt, uprising, death. When it walks through your bedrooms with butcher's knives, you will know the truth. The men go off. Ophelia remains on stage, motionless in white muslin wrapping.